name is Sean Cohen, CEO of C3 Coaching Strategies, and I am super excited to be a part of this year's World Unity Week. As a financial educator, I have the distinct pleasure of helping people rethink, unlearn, and learn about money and how to use it as a tool to build and cultivate legacies. However, like many of you, not all of my lessons came from a formal education. Most of my lessons were environmental and came from what I would like to call the school of hard knocks. Growing up, I know a little about money, like what it was, how to count it, and most importantly, how to spend it. Unfortunately, I was never taught about managing my money. I watched my parents go to work and provide for me, so I knew money was important and necessary for our survival. But we never talked about it. Budgeting and investing were never terms that I ever heard. My entrepreneurial journey got started early, around the age of 10. That's when I decided that I wanted to make my own money. So when most kids got excited about a snow day because they wanted to go sledding or it was just another day to stay home, for me, I thought about it differently. I began to calculate the amount of houses I could shovel in that day. And for a 10-year-old kid making $150 to $200 a day, well, that was a gold mine. And so that's how I got started on my track to money. However, as I got older, I realized that the amount of money that I made in one snow season, possibly maybe $1,000 in that one year, was not a whole lot of money. And I realized that people began to calculate wealth differently. Wealth was really something that was subjective, and it was based on your circumstances. This was a pretty good lesson that I learned in high school. I remember one kid telling me I was rich just because I lived on the other side of the highway. You see, in the town in which I went to high school, it was divided by a major highway. And on one side of the highway, there were houses which had big yards and sidewalks. And on the other side of the highway, most of the homes were row homes. So naturally, I guess kids assume that if you lived on the other side of the highway and you had a big house, a standalone house, and a big yard, you were rich. I knew better than that. I knew that I wasn't rich, but I also knew that I wasn't poor. But at that time, I just couldn't seem to conceptualize that being rich could be subjective to one's circumstances. You see, the media has a way of portraying wealth as having a lot of luxury items. Being able to obtain, I'd say, the latest brands, something that the latest influencers are wearing. But for most people who don't have the money or don't have the quote unquote luxury of owning such items, these items indicate wealth and status, when in fact the advertisements themselves isn't for those who can afford it, it's for those who dream to afford it. So let's be clear, there's nothing wrong with luxury items when in fact you can't afford them. But once again, as I tell you about my lesson, the lesson I learned about luxury items wasn't so much a hard lesson, but it was a bitter one. You see, in college, when I decided I was going to buy the latest outfit, including the most up-to-date sneakers for a concert that really only lasted, say, several hours. Those several hours were the most magical hours of my life. But afterwards, the days were not. You see, I spent all my money in my account on this luxury outfit for the concert. And after that, I didn't have any more money. Now, unlike most people, but fortunate enough for me, I was in a position where a few days later, someone put money in my account, probably my mom. But it taught me a lesson. It taught me to really figure out what I wanted versus what I needed and what was important. And those are some of the key elements of financial literacy. Some of the things that a lot of us aren't taught early on. So then we find ourselves in various jams, like I did that particular college year. But that's okay, because over the next few years, I learned some more valuable lessons. I think one of the most valuable lessons that I learned was that I realized my friends who grew up around money and who were taught about money had a different type of relationship with money than I did. And me being the person that I am, this fueled my flame of curiosity and motivated me to do better. So as I began my journey, I had become more like a sponge, and I began to absorb the things that people taught me, not formally, but what they taught me in past. Or I would learn from my costly mistakes. And I'm sure many of you have had your costly mistakes just like me. But unfortunately, growing up, I only had sports mentors. I didn't have people who looked like me, people who talked like me, or people who thought like me to mentor me. And so it's for this reason that I always knew that it was important for me to be what I always thought I needed, a mentor. You see, I believe that if you have a financial mentor early in life, and if I would have had one early in life, that I could have avoided some of the costly missteps and let's save myself a lot of money. So now that I get the opportunity to teach those around me how to shift their mindset and how to change their relationship with money personally and from an entrepreneur perspective, this simply makes sense and it falls in line with my mission, my personal mission. And this is how my journey began. And this has been my motivation for years. Well, I'm sure you're saying great story, Sean. But let's be honest. Is it really that easy? Well, I'd be telling you an untruth if I told you that helping people change their relationship with money was easy. The truth of the matter is, it's not. It's an endeavor that requires both empathy and determination, because transforming deeply ingrained financial behaviors is simply not an easy task. We all have our unique experiences and beliefs when it comes to money. Some of us have an inherited past, our financial patterns of mismanagement and scarcity. These patterns require a willingness for us to confront our own belief and behaviors. And let's be honest, how many of us really want to confront our own belief and behaviors? Because it's uncomfortable and it's also challenging and sometimes scary. So along my journey as a financial educator, some of the main challenges that I face are helping people break the cycle of financial habits, those habits that have been passed down from generation to generation and hidden within the fabric of their family histories. For instance, have you ever heard the saying, work hard, play hard? Or, I work all week, so I deserve to splurge on the weekend. Better yet, do me a favor. Picture a young child observing their parents' financial decisions, wide-eyed and innocent. Every week, they watch their parents buy lottery tickets before they buy food in hopes of getting that winning ticket. You see, these are all examples, patterns, and sayings that become imprinted in our mind, forming the foundation of our beliefs and our behaviors. These are those generational shackles that continue the cycle of unhealthy financial habits that leave our family living paycheck to paycheck without emergency funds, that at the very least continue the cycle of poverty. But it doesn't stop there. There's another challenge. And this one is usually the hardest one. The second challenge is getting people to acknowledge that they simply don't know what they need to know. I'll let that sit there for a moment. You see, for me, it took looking at myself in the mirror and being honest with myself. For example, I bought my first home when I was 25. At the time, it didn't really seem like that big of a deal. It was, but I didn't realize. I went through the process without any help. I didn't know the process, but I went through the process. But when others saw me go through this process and reached out to me for help, I wasn't able to help them. But why? Because I had gone through this process. The truth of the matter is, although I had gone through the process, I didn't understand the process. Therefore, I couldn't explain the process. I had no idea how I qualified. I had no idea what my credit score was or what it should have been, what my interest rates were or how they were calculated. How was I going to help others? I had to admit I didn't know. I had to unlearn what I thought I knew and relearn what I needed to know so that I could be in the position to help others. So as a financial educator, my greatest challenge is getting my clients to step outside their comfort zones, acknowledge their limited understanding, and embrace new concepts and strategies for money management. This is really what financial literacy is all about. It's not just about witnessing the individuals change what they're capable of buying. It's about witnessing their change with their relationship with money and witnessing the positive impact that it has on their lives. It's truly a remarkable thing. I like to say that it's possibly one of the best testaments to the power of education, support, and reflection. You see, success in this realm is not just measured by financial milestones, but by the sense of empowerment and security that individuals gain. It's the joy of seeing someone confidently navigate their finances, buy their first home, make strategic investments, and pursue their dreams without the burden of financial stress. It's totally about empowering individuals to become the masters of their own financial destinies, not just in the United States, but globally. There's this saying, I learned it a long time ago, back in my college years when I was mentoring. I was mentoring a group of kids. And I decided to use an analogy about the beach because I was in a state where all three sides were surrounded by water. So me, naturally, I'm thinking that, well, they would get this analogy. Only to my dismay, I realized that only 1 out of the 15 kids had ever gone to the beach. And then it dawned on me that just because the beach was accessible didn't mean that they had access to it. That was another aha moment for me. And this statement proves true when we talk about the Global Financial Literacy Excellence Center. In a recent report, they indicate that nearly 9.2% of the world's population lives in extreme poverty. That may seem like a low number, but it really isn't. We're talking extreme poverty here. And only 1/3 of adults worldwide are financially literate. These studies have shown us that individuals with higher levels of education tend to have better financial skills. However, those individuals with low-income families often face barriers to education, limiting their opportunities to develop financial knowledge. See, this directly correlates to what I learned back in college. Those friends who had people teach them about money and had access to money had a better understanding and had more opportunities to mess up money. They're trusted more because they had more access, where individuals who have limited access have limited understanding and face more barriers. And in fact, these are the people who probably need it the most. In the United States alone, the financial education program that targets youth are still limited and lacking, just as in so many other parts of the world. And so this is why building accessible resources for young people, accessible financial resources for young people are important for building a financially capable generation. Let's repeat that, a financially capable generation. You see, in marginalized communities, people don't invest because, well, investing is something that focuses on the future. The statement, I'm hungry today, not tomorrow, so I have to focus on the present, not what the future might be, speaks to our failure to plan for tomorrow and our failure to teach the next generation to create a storehouse for future famine times. You see, we are the caretakers of the next generation. We are the change agents. And as a global society, we must do better. We must be better. You might be thinking, Sean, what's your point? It's simple. For me, learning financial literacy formally was a game changer. It gives me the tools that I need to manage my money, pay off debts, and build a solid financial foundation for my future and for my family's future. It's a skill that everyone should learn, not just me, not just the wealthy, but everyone. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to have learned it. And I'm hopeful that so many more will have that same opportunity. See, I hope my story serves as a reminder of why learning financial literacy formally is so important. And also what we learn about financial literacy informally is just as important. And this is why we have an obligation to pass this knowledge from generation to generation. It's actually what inspired my latest book, Dollars and Cents, a guide teaching parents and guardians how to raise financially literate kids, because it focuses on teaching parents and mentors how to have those conversations that they may not know to have, or they may not know how to have. And it teaches them the principles, the financial principles that I wish my parents would have had with me early in life. You see, when I go back to when I first started my snow shoveling business, that year, if I made $1,000 for shoveling snow, and I took 50%, I knew then that if I took 50% of that $500 and put it in a compound interest savings account, over the next 10 years, I would have made so much money, even if I had never added anything else to that account. If I knew to take 250, just 25% of that $1,000 that I made that year, and invested it maybe in a newly formed company or up and coming company named Nike, or possibly Apple, how much more would that $250 be? Or that $500 that was in that compound interest? See, those are the conversations that I never had at the kitchen table. These are the conversations that so many kids still don't have at the kitchen table. And it's up to us. So I challenge and I implore you to look in the mirror, examine how you think about money, and then unlearn it. Because I'm pretty sure the way you think about money is totally wrong. It's only when we understand financial principles and we teach them to the next generation that we are not only creating wealth, we are empowering the next generation. And guess what? That's an ideal worth sharing. Thank you for your time.